We will wait a little bit for viewers to show up.
How many viewers are you expecting?
Oh, it's random every time. We got translation on YouTube. Some of them prefer to watch it on YouTube, not on Zoom. We'll see. Well, I think that we can start. Good evening, everyone. Today we will have last but not least lecture in the special project Video Games French edition in partnership with French Institute in Moscow. And our guest today is Fabien Thollot from Corp. During the lecture, you can ask your question in special forum down below. After presentation, Fabien will answer on them. Fabien, good luck.
Thank you very much, Bogdan. Hello, everybody. I'm very happy to be with you this evening. The goal is to present to you the studio and the video game project, and I'd be happy to have a discussion and answer your questions. So my name is Fabien Thollot. I'm the founder of Corp. It is a transmedia creative studio founded in July 2019 in Saint-Etienne. It's the 13th city of France. Maybe you can locate it on the map. It's close to Lyon, which is the second city in France. And we have different activities, which are books publishing, creation of video games, and someday we hope animated series. Our mission is to entertain. And this year, we work on the publication of the very first books that I will show you just after, the video game prototype for the PC platform, and also the script for the animated series. We are working on our very first transmedia universe, which is called TENEBRAE, mixing dark fantasy and cyberpunk influences. For dark fantasy, you can think about The Witcher, Game of Thrones, and cyberpunk, it's more like Blade Runner, The Fifth Element, and targeting an audience of adults and teenagers between 15 to 45 years old, can be less or more. Here are the books covers. On the left side, the collector edition and the novel Phobos. We have a version for younger audience, between 10 and 15 people. We have a pocket version and short stories in the same universe. And we are also working on a manga project on the longer term. Some pictures from our video game project, Wicke AEONS. It is a tactical RPG with elements of roguelike. The player will control a team of young superheroes with magic powers and fight abilities, and have different missions in the dark city of Abjectalia. And also, as I said to you, the animated series, it's the same universe, same location than in the video game, same characters. It's a different way to tell our stories. To build the TENEBRAE universe, we try to take inspiration from the best transmedia franchise, like Star Wars, Dragon Ball, The Witcher, Game of Thrones. And you can notice they are the same ingredients for success in these different references. For example, it's good to have a complex universe, but the audience will have pleasure to explore. It's good also to have a literary adaptation, usually novels or mangas. The heroes have mysterious origins, but you don't know from the start. You will discover while exploring the universe, that is reading the books or playing the video games. It's nice to have a certain moral ambiguity, different shades of gray, because when everything is black and white, it's not very interesting. It's nice to have a more complex moral background in the story. And of course, epic fights to really appeal to the readers, the players, the viewers of the show, to have something very epic. The business model of a transmedia studio is to create worlds, characters, stories, and then we can tell these stories on different medias. For example, for us, we started with books and video games, and we want to develop in animated series and licensing, merchandising, can be toys, clothes, different stuff. And everything is based on the IP, the intellectual property. You will create entertaining contents and products, and you can sell them or make license with partners. Our market is the industry of media and entertainment, which is very huge in the world. It's $2 trillion every year. If we focus on the books and video games animation market, it's still a big market, and we can talk about the niche. It's a very big niche of science fiction and fantasy, and we are trying to take a small spot as a start in this niche. With our different activities, we are aiming at 5 million euros turnover in 2025, and why not 10 times more in 2030? But it's not for now. We are just starting. Some word about me, and so I'm the founder. I have initial training as an engineer, and then later, during my first job, I follow training as a lawyer, specialized in intellectual property. And during my years in Paris, I choose to follow training as an analyst at the School of Economic Law. And I'm also the creator of the TENEBRAE universe. So with this background, is both feet on the ground and head in the stars, both an engineer and artist. And that helped me convince the Réseau Entreprendre. It's a French entrepreneurial network to follow and fund the project at the start in 2020. I have a pretty nice team in November, mainly working on the video game, which is really our main project, the most important. But also some people are working on marketing. It is very important in our field to talk about your project early, so you can start developing a fan base. And also we have people working on the books publishing. We first offer our own IP, TENEBRAE Universe, and then we are aiming at developing other IP to publish books from other people, and maybe later in the future try to develop video games on these other stories. And it's very important when you start to have experienced people. So we hired a senior narrative designer from Frogwares. He worked during 16 years on the Sherlock Holmes license, which is quite good for as a literary license. We have also people from Ubisoft, Bandai Namco, and the head of books publishing is from Nemos. It's a pretty known books publisher in France, but not an international publisher. We are a startup, meaning we need fundings to develop our creations. So in the startup language, we have signs of traction. The first one will be the initial fundings. We succeed to raise almost 270 during the first year and a half, which is quite promising for local association, game only. We also lead a crowdfunding campaign in March and April this year, and we had an objective of 4,000 euros, and we reached the target instead of 1 month, we reached the target in 36 hours, and then 200% in 1 week. and we finish with 13K euros. And also we took part in a challenge with different projects, and we succeeded to have the jury prize, meaning we were the first project out of 37 candidates. So it was very encouraging. Another sign with the video game publishers, some spotted us already on Instagram, Twitter, and decided to contact us. And we have 10 due diligence pending for investments between 200K, 400K euros. So every time we have a discussion like that, the process is to have an NDA, non-disclosure agreement, before starting the negotiation. Then to have a presentation deck like this one to tell more about the company, about the video game project. And then to prepare a prototype, we can say also a demo or a vertical slice, which is something the publisher can test and to decide if they want to fund the project. And another positive sign of traction, on May 27 this year, I have a business meeting with Warner Bros, Nathalie Lawson, and she really had encouraging word on the potential of the TENEBRAE universe, the genre, the potential for licensing and merchandising. Of course, it's too early to work with a big company like Warner Bros. So we have to sell more books. We have to finish the video games and sell it. And we will try to develop a universe of products. And we hope to work with a big global player like Warner Bros. In the future. So now we can switch in more detail on Wicke AEONS. It's a PC game for solo player developed with Unity. And we started in 2020 working on the concept. This year, 2021, we finished the prototype that we can present to publisher. And we have 2 more years of production. We are aiming at the launch in September 2023. And after, we can propose a DLC, the downloadable contents. For example, more heroes, more levels to explore. About the 3C, you know, probably at school, it's camera controls characters. We chose to have a camera with top view following the selected heroes and the center of the group of heroes and a locked camera. About the controls, it's more with a mouse and keyboard because you control 4 heroes. So it's like, for example, in League of Legends, it's nice to switch between your different powers and then also between the different heroes to launch their spells. And about the characters, so we decided to have 4 heroes max in a mission, and the player can have a group up to 20 heroes with different classes, different powers, fight abilities, and he can choose his group of heroes depending on what he wants to accomplish in the mission. About the design, we decided to have an art direction with anime, manga style, like in Persona 5 or Disgaea, and mixing 2D and 3D. 2D is for the environment and also the characters during the narrative scenes in visual novel and in the hub. And in-game, the characters, the heroes and enemies are in 3D, so they can be more dynamic in their animations. And so we decided to mix the universe, cyberpunk, with you can have neons, screens, flashes, and also dark fantasy, meaning we have elves, demons, maybe dragons in the city. About the gameplay, you will have an alternate between the hub, where you will manage your heroes, choose your team, and have some narrative events. and the mission, which is in real time. You have different rooms in each level with different challenge. It can be traps, it can be fights, and you will interact with the object to get some bonus. And the narrative events are both in the hub and mission. The game is a RPG role-playing game, so it's very important to have a story and to have strong characters. We have an interesting features about the relationships level. They will evolve depending on the choices of the player during the narrative events, and in case of mission success or failure. And your team of heroes will develop relationship between them, and they can have bonus, stat bonus. And sometimes it's when they will have fight during the game, or they will fail in the mission, they will have penalties. So it's another parameter that will have an influence when you will build your team for a particular mission. We have also the system of PACTS, which are applied to heroes. It's like items, but you cannot exchange them between the different heroes. Every pact will provide penalties to some stat and bonus to other stat. So it's like a difficult choice because you will have to boost some stat, for example, your power attack, your attack power, and you will raise some other stat, for example, your defense or your speed, and you will build your heroes like that with a PACTS accumulation. And we have also developed cursed marks that will upgrade only the penalties. It can happen if depending on the choice you make in the game, or when a hero will be revived, or if you have a problem in a cursed area. Another interesting feature is the threat level. When you enter a level, you will be threat level 1, and enemies will have basic stats, basic loots, basic XP. And the more you will stay in the level, the more you will fight enemies, find loots. The threat level will grow. You can have more loots, but also the enemies are more power. So you have to balance the time you will stay in the zone, because if you stay too much, it can be very problematic. It's a risk and reward system. In the end games, we decided to have an incentive to the player to play the game long. You will unlock new classes which will allow new teams composition. For example, at the start, you will have the blades. We will fight with a sword and magic, a vampire, a sniper with a big rifle, and a mystic. And then you will unlock new classes during the game. You will also have upgrades in the academy, the hub, to recruit new heroes, to heal and restore your heroes, upgrades in these systems. Of course, the features I presented before will have more and more influence. The relationship between heroes, the threat level, the packs, it will gain more and more influence when you reach the end game. And the last 3 bosses in the game will be affected by the player decisions, choices in the story. So, as I said, it's very important for the narrative part. To sum up the hooks in the Wicke AEONS, we have first a very particular universe and a strong art direction. You will also have real-time fights with a pause. It's a different dynamics and challenges than turn-based RPG. In the field of tactical RPG, it's very often turn-based, and we wanted to propose a different experience, more dynamic. And then the pacts, the relationship, it's very important point in the games that I told you about before. The project overview for now. In the last years, we already developed the core game design and the art direction. We have a tutorial when you start the game. We have also the hub, the first 5 heroes classes, and the first chapters called the Shallows. And to be done, we have 5 more heroes classes and the following chapters. We want each chapter to propose a different atmosphere. It can be in the city, it can be in the underworld, and some surprise for the last chapters, of course. And to finish the project, we need some recruitments. We have a VFX artist that who is an intern for now. We would like to hire him as an employee. And also we need 3D artist, 2D artist, and a sound designer. But for that, of course, we need some fundings. We have a global production budget on 600K that will already allow to gather an amazing team and make an amazing game. We could go to a higher range, maybe to with 800K euros, depending on what the publishers want. And it could allow to gather a bigger team and make an even better game. We are in a position to invest 400K in the game development. For now, we already invested 200K. And at this stage, we need to find a publisher to unlock the next investments. Some publishers are open to fund the whole production budget. Sometimes they prefer to fund half. And also the publisher is in charge of the marketing, localization, QA. So it's a very precious partner. We are the creative studio. We started the project. We have the idea. We build the first tones in the project, and we need a partner to continue the project. And that's what we say to the publisher. Why would they publish Wicke AEONS rather than another game? There are many games on the market. So the first thing is we have a promising PC game project mixing interesting genre of tactical RPG and roguelike and a strong art direction. We have a promising team, a transmedia strategy with different entry points to the universe. We have a small investment needed for the publisher. If you take a look at the video game industries, you can find projects with dozens or hundreds of millions for the production, and us, it's very small. So we can discuss with different publisher for them 200K, 300K. It's affordable, but of course we have to convince them we have the good project, we have the good team, so they will invest in the project. And the last one is, of course, because they like challenges. So thank you very much for this presentation. You can find Wicke AEONS on the Steam page, and don't hesitate to add it to the wish list. It will really help us. And then after this presentation, I can present you a video, a short video trailer we prepared. I hope the image and sound will be good. Let's try. So it was the trailer, and then I can present to you a small something about the video game industry in France. It was a survey made by the National Association called SNJV. And they published a new edition this September with very interesting information. I'm sorry, the file is not the most suited to a presentation, but I will try to zoom in the interesting stuff. The first teaching on this study was the kind of companies set up in France in the video game industry. And you can see that 60% of the companies are development studios working on video games. Then we have a third of the companies who are the provider of service and technology. A very small portion, 4.9%, are the publishers, and 1.3% are distributors. So as a summary, the main part are the development studios. Some key takeaways for year 2021. The number of employees on average is 11 employees. If I take the example of Angel Corp, we have 4 full-time employees, 4 apprentices, and then it's more freelancers. So we are under the average. We are a small studio just starting. And as you can see, 80% of the employees have permanent contract. And for now, the staff in development studio is just 20% women. So we are making a big effort to develop this number. It's the same in our team, because in the 4 people working in the video games, it's 1 woman, so 25%. And then the sector is creating a lot of jobs, so it's very interesting for the public and private sectors to develop this industry. Sadly, or more traditional industries like the automotive, maybe the manufacturing are going away from the country, but what we call the creative industries, in video games, in animated series, it's working quite well in France, so it's good to help them develop. And as you can see, in 2019, there was 500 development studios in the country, and 2021, it's 700, meaning it's 200 more. A lot of people with experience or just coming out of school want to start a studio to develop their project. And 35% of the revenues is made internationally. So it means it's already a big part in France, but of course, in the video game industry, it's very important to have a global audience, a global market. Then you can see 80% of the studios report revenues in excess of 1 million. So it's quite a good number. As we are starting, we are working on a very first game project. We don't have so big revenues, but we hope to reach that numbers in the futures. And then some last numbers about the development. 80% of the studios will favor the PC and the PC platform, and more than consoles or mobile. Usually, the games will start with PC, and then we can have a porting to consoles or mobile. And then there was in the question asked for the French actors, they ask, what is the most attractive country for you to launch your studio? And sadly, the first one to come was not French. It was more United States, meaning some of our creative talents will prefer to go to the United States or launch their studio there. Okay, I think it's enough. I will not enter in so many details in this presentation, but I can send a web link to Bogdan to download the study if you want more information about the French market. It's better we will come back to the presentation, and I'm open to your questions. Bogdan, are you here?
Yep, I'm here, but I cannot turn on my video camera. I don't know
Okay.
what's wrong with it, but I think that we don't have any questions. And I don't see them. Maybe we need to wait a little bit. Do I understand you right that we can share your presentation about the video game market to everyone who will ask for that?
Yeah, the presentation about the studio and the game, it's better not to share it, but the one of the studies about the French market, I can send it to you to share it. It's public.
Well, that's very cool. Then thank you, Fabien.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thank you very much for hosting. And I hope it can provide some interesting information to your students.
Well, I think that we will be happy to see you again, and we will invite you to some conferences or events that are connected with such wide species of game development and media and books. It's really great that you have doing it all by such small team.
Yeah, we are just starting, but we hope to develop well in the future. And thank you very much. It was a pleasure to be with you this evening.
Well, that's all. Goodbye.
Goodbye.